So here, India's situation with regard to the pandemic, the virus, is slowly getting less intensity. But now worry is lots of festivals are already in the middle and already coming. So, and these festivals are very much related to the religious festivals. So, and millions of people, recently there is a Durga up in the north, and down here called Dashera, and now coming Diwali and other. So professionals are quite worried about that. And so here in the monastery, we are still in a mode of lockdown, and the number here, the case number is reducing, and we really hope that remain in a low number, and slowly to start some of our education programs sometime next week. That's what we are planning to. And weather-wise, it is really now more or less monsoon is over, and there are certain heavy showers every now and then, but not that kind of day and night. And so that is the situation in India. And so anyway, we will start. Today's our gathering. Oh, yeah.
So we'll just quickly mute everyone, and then you can unmute yourself then.
Oh, yeah. So we will start this gathering holding the refuge mind, and also holding the bodhicitta, mind of enlightenment, as a part of the the main intention to join this gathering, and also part of training ourselves, training our mind with these two very positive and constructive mental states, to have, in the morning, during the day, in the evening, in fact, 24 hours, very actively or in the background, if we are able to live and work and relate to the outside world with these two minds, the refuge and the bodhicitta, then life will be very meaningful, very peaceful, though external situations may not be that calm and peaceful, but because of having these two mental states as a part of our thoughts, emotions, and so forth, consciously or subconsciously, this will help. And that is also part of this, every gathering, starting with these two minds, and habituating. And when the last day and the last hour and the last minute comes of this life, there will be chance, great chance, we are able to transit our lives from here to the next life with these two minds. And that will be very, very, helpful to this life and also helpful to the next or new lives. So, every time we are starting with these two minds, it's not just for the session, to have, to hold these two minds. It is also part of training ourselves, training our minds to, recently I went to one, to look at the exam. The look exam was going, now it's finished. And, as an abbot, one of the responsibility is go around and look around. And so I went there. It is just about 7 minutes walk. And I wasn't carrying my umbrella. And as soon as I left the main, the temple, 2-3 minutes after, there was a heavy shower. And my upper garment, quite soft one, was completely soaked with the water. And because, the monks are in a form of, sort of what you call living in a very, what you call because of this, the pandemic, I won't see anybody there. So when I reach here, my upper garment was soaked with the water. So like that, if we train our mind every now and then, whenever there's opportunity, with these two minds, as a follower of the teachings of the Buddha, refuge, and within the teachings of the Buddha, many of us follow Bodhisattva and the teachings, Vajrayana and the teachings, then Bodhicitta. Then if you are able to, understanding of emptiness, understanding of dependent origination, if we are able to soak our minds, thoughts, and emotions with these, what you call profound realizations, then, there's a great chance, our day-to-day lives, what you call what's the English word? There's one. Anyway, the ingrained or, with these mental states, then will be very, very helpful. So we will start with the refuge and the bodhicitta recitations, and first two lines help us to hold refuge, and last two lines help us to hold the bodhicitta. And as I have shared with you many times, to make these meaning of these two lines, first two lines, refuge, to make very deep and to feel from our heart, then while we are when we have time to really need to to understand the qualities of the three jewels, to understand more detail and more depth of the nature of this unenlightened existence. With these two understandings, then when we take refuge, then that mind will be from our heart. Going for refuge will be from our heart, and it is the same bodhicitta. Many of us have received many teachings from many great masters, on bodhicitta, And many of us have texts such as Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So, when we have a free time, reading some of those verses, like for example in the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, in 8th chapter, although chapter itself is concentration, but from verse 89, then Shantideva start to explain this amazing technique, equalizing and exchanging oneself with others through that technique to cultivate bodhicitta, or some other technique like, 7-point cause and effect. Nakachuna and other masters have advocated. So, while we're having time, it doesn't need to be hours, just 15 minutes, 20 minutes. At the, between two different works, then to spend time. Then when we say just those 2 lines, our recitation, as soon as we say the lines, immediately we will feel from our heart the bodhicitta, so that is something, to helpful to remember that and carry on, One of my teachers used to say when I was a young boy here, we have to seek, I have to seize the time to study. Time will never, say to me, now it's time to study. And I thought that is very meaningful advice. We have to seize the opportunity. From the time side, 24 hours in one whole day or day and night, 24 hours. They will not tell us, saying, okay, this is the time you should read few verses on bodhicitta. We have to go and open and read and meditate. That is, and that's one of my teachers used to say when I was here as a student. So, okay, so we will say the refuge and bodhicitta lines. Sanje Chödang Soji Chonam La Changju Pado Dane Japso Je Dagi Jinso Jibe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho. Sanje Chödang Soji Chonam La Changju Pado Dane Japso Je Dagi Jinso Jibe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho. Sanje Chödang Soji Chonam La Changju Pado Dane Japso Je Dagi Jinso Jibe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho. Oh, yeah. So with this amazing two mental states as our motivation or intention to participate in this gathering, now we will say Cherish Mantra, 6 syllables, Cherish Mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. And while we are saying the mantra, with the sound of the mantra, and in the aspect of multicolored lines, in the nature of, love, compassion, and altruism, reach out towards all living beings and their environment, and particularly those living beings, human beings, going through very difficult times, very tough times. That includes our loved ones, oneself, and also people who are familiar with the, visualizing Chenrezig, Avalokitashvara. Then you can do that either above your head. If you do that, Avalokitashvara is facing same direction as yourself, or in front of you. Then in that case, Chenrezig is facing towards you. So same when we say the mantra from the Chenrezig's body, speech, and mind, in the aspect of multicolored lights, in the nature of great compassion, reach out towards all living beings. While saying the mantra, every now and then, mentally hold strong sense of love, compassion, altruism, and that, also part of the, as we all know, this manifestation is also part of to cultivate, to enhance single-pointed mind. So, while we are holding a strong compassion, hold the compassion single-pointedly, or love, or altruism, or just, multicolored light in the aspect, nature of compassion. If we do that, hold single-pointedly on that. So that way, because enhancing these mental qualities, such as single-pointed mind, such as love, compassion, need many different, ways to enhance them. So that's also part of our recitation. Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Om Mane Pe Omane Oh, yeah. So we are reading this beautiful meditation manual based on in this particular case, His Holiness Dalai Lama and Avalokitashvara, seeing, these two, our own Guru, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and our meditation of deity, Avalokitashvara, as a one entity, as a one inseparable. And, through that meditation, to enhance our, the what you call the connection with the, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also those great spiritual masters, past and the present, and this life and the coming lives, to continue to be cared by these great masters, and along that to enhance our those great mental qualities. And that we will see a little bit later in the meditation, the manual text, meditating on inseparable His Holiness Dalai Lama and the Chenrezig. What is our main sort of aim or the goal that we are requesting, with the visualization, that we will see in a little bit later. So, that is what we are reading. And as I mentioned at the first day, and the text itself is, was written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself. In this case, we have a direct connection. The text is written by His Holiness himself, and many of us had the opportunity to receive teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also many other great teachers. So our reading is in the section, page 5, visualization from generation, in that section. And before that, as we know, there are some technically called preliminary meditation or preliminary section, such as taking refuge, holding bodhicitta, holding the four immeasurable, the thoughts, and also, purifying the environment that we are going to invite the Guru and the meditation of deity, and also, visualizing the offerings, and visualizing the offerings with the deep, strong, clear understanding of the conventional nature of the offerings, as well as the ultimate nature of the offerings. And these are the part of the here in this text, the preliminary practice. And then, we last week we started reading page 5, and this section, visualization from generation, this section is, divided into 3 parts, saying the first part is, the visualizing, samaya sattva, or commitment beings, and that we have done. In there, really very much visualizing, His Holiness Dalai Lama, and the way he is seated upon, and so that's what we have done. And also the second part, which is, Jnana Sabhava, or wisdom being, that is also, His Holiness Dalai Lama's heart. At His Holiness Dalai Lama's heart, we have visualized, the forearm Chenrezig as a wisdom being. I think we have done those 2 parts, and now today we are going to start the third part, which is called, Samadhi Sabhava, or concentration beings. So first we will read that, then I will come back. What are the significance of these 3, such as saying the commitment being, wisdom being, concentration beings? What are the significance of these 3 beings? So I will come back after we finish the reading. First, this concentration being. So here, and I don't need that much, the what you call the explanation. So what we have done so far, we have visualized His Holiness Dalai Lama on this beautiful throne, and at His Holiness Dalai Lama's heart, we have visualized forearm Chenrezig upon the lotus and montes. Now this third one, a concentration being, is visualized at the heart of Chenrezig. At His Holiness Dalai Lama's heart, we have visualized forearm Chenrezig. So forearm Chenrezig's heart, this, the concentration being, in this case, letter free, syllable free. You can add, as some of you, been with me quite some time, you can visualize, for example, in Tibetan, we visualize letter free in Tibetan, writing, though originally it is written in Sanskrit, isn't it? It is written in Sanskrit. So we Tibetan visualize free in Tibetan. So I think it is, there's nothing wrong to visualize free in English. I think that's all. I think that's all right. Though sometimes, for example, letter hum sometimes have some involves with the meditation dissolving. There are these certain cases may have good to visualize in a particular syllable, but here we don't need that. So therefore, you can visualize a wide syllable free in English at the heart of the Chenrezig, and that is called the concentration being, that letter free. And from the so the maybe first instead of first me to explain a little bit that in Om Ah Hum, then I will come back the other part of that. So then visualize at His Holiness Dalai Lama's between the 2 eyebrows, letter Om, and at the throat, letter A, and once again at His Holiness heart, letter Hum, syllable Hum. So there might be a little bit difficulty because we have already visualized Avalokitashvara at His Holiness heart. Now we are, and Avalokitashvara's heart, we already have visualized letter 3. Now asking again at His Holiness heart, visualize letter home. So we may feel very much crowded. And at His Holiness heart, there are so many things, and therefore it very much crowded. But that is our, because we are too much, what you call our mental state, or we are very much, materialistic sort of culture and surrounding. And these, everything, including His Holiness Dalai Lama that we have visualized on this beautiful throne in front of us, these are not physical matters. These are not, built with the atoms, the physical atoms. These are mental, the creation. So therefore, won't be any sort of one is obstructing the others because they don't have physical. However, you may find difficult those 2 letters, 3 at the Chenrezig's heart and home at His Holiness heart. If that is, sometimes people have that trouble. If that is the case, then at letter home, at the letter home in the Tibetan writing, you can look at if you look at in the meditation manual that you have in front of you in English, next to those lines, there are 4 Tibetan syllables. The first one is the free, second one is om, third one is a, fourth one is hum. So at the letter hum, there is a round one. Round one. Can you see there's a round one? So you can visualize the letter 3 in the middle of that round one if you have a difficulty. So at His Holiness heart, there is a Chenrezig, and you can visualize letter hum at the Chenrezig's heart, and at the middle, in that round of letter hum, you can visualize letter 3, which is the syllable concentration being. In that way, you won't find what you call too crowded, or one is obstructing others. So that is part of the visualization. So letter 3, I will come back later. But om, a, hum, at the forehead, om, at the throat, letter a, and at the heart, letter hum. These 3 represent, what in the Vajrayana terminology, 3 Vajras. In Tibetan, Kudoje, Sungdoje, Tukdoje, Kudoje, Vajra body, Vajra speech, Vajra mind. So 3 sort of, and om, a, hum. These 3 syllables are, very often you will come across when you do the Vajrayana practice, because these 3 syllables represent these 3 Vajras, and these 3 Vajras has a meaning of Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Kudoje, Sungdoje, Tukdoje, Doje Sum Ermeba. Quite often, sometimes these 3 Vajras, body, speech, and mind, are inseparable. So there are these lots of meanings on that. But for the in a simple way, the 3 these 3 syllables are representing the 3 Buddha's Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So Buddha's body, speech, and minds are quite often called in Vajrayana terminology Kutoje. That is body Vajra, speech Vajra, and mental Vajra. So that is what here, these three Vajras. So then the line in English emanates, brilliant colored light in all directions. So this light is coming from the free, which is at the heart of the Avalokitashvara, who is at the heart of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So because nowadays we have many what you call the modern technologies, the light radiating from the small, what you call the sparks, and going huge, going long distance. So we can have, compared to maybe 100 years, these days, we can have many sort of, help to visualize. So from the letter Shri, which is the heart of, the Avalokitashvara, in the aspect of multicolored lights, the multicolored light going through all directions. It is kind of, for example, this morning, this morning I went to Tashi Monastery, which is 10 minutes driving from our monastery, one of the big monasteries in this Tibetan settlement. And they invited me and also my colleague Sera Mey, Chenrezig, abbot, and other the guests, because today they're inaugurating their school, and I received this invitation a few weeks ago, so I put it on my diary. So 17th of October, 9 o'clock morning, I need to go. So due to receiving that invitation, I went there. And that is the normal, conventionally how things are interdependently how it works, isn't it? Dependent arising in the conventional world, how it works. And similar to here, so what light rays or brilliant multicolored light rays, emanating from the letter Shri at the heart of the Avalokitashvara, who is at the heart of His Holiness Dalai Lama, going through all directions, then invoking or inviting then the next coming lines, all directions. Oma, we already have done, the blue from. Then it says, from which many lights shine out many directions, inviting the three jewels. So what is happening here is really very much, inviting all the Buddhas, all the meditational deities, inviting and then dissolving, upon His Holiness Dalai Lama and at his heart, Avalokitashvara, and at the heart of the Avalokitashvara, syllable Shri. In Tibetan, there is an expression, I haven't seen very much myself because, but the people who live in the North England or people who live in Switzerland or in other part where you have opportunity to see, in the winter coming snow, and you are next to a river or in a lake, clear lake, and snows, are dropping, those flakes. But as soon as reach to the water, they dissolve. They dissolve into water, isn't it? I mean, if you continue and it get below zero, then the lake may freeze. But then generally, and that is what here some the teachers the advise, do that kind of visualization. So light rays go out from the letter tree and go out all the directions and reach all those Buddhas and meditational deities. And then the light rays reach there as a invocation, and they come back with the light rays and they dissolve all the Buddhas and meditational deities, dissolve into His Holiness Dalai Lama, and at his heart Avalokitashvara, at Avalokitashvara's heart letter free. So significance of doing this meditation, meditation here, as you can see in the last line, transforming him into collected essence of the object of refuge, collected. Yeah. So in other words, and in the visualization of spiritual masters or gurus, there are several different ways. Sometimes we can visualize entire lineage masters from the Buddha Vajradhara to up to one's own, spiritual master. One by one, visualize. Visualize, from the Vajradhara at the top, then coming down to up to the present master. Or you can visualize, in Tibetan, another one is called Tomso. Visualize our teachers, spiritual masters, like in market, in the market. In the market, some people sell vegetables, some people sell garments, some people sell different things. So people go to different areas where the sellers sell different things. Tomso, that is called Tomso. So we can visualize the spiritual masters into different groups. Or this one, it is called Gundu Nobuluk in Tibetan. Gundu Nobuluk. That means all the the spiritual masters and the deities are visualized into one. Here, that is what we have done. Gundu Nobuluk. Gun means all. Du means here translated collected or encompass. And Nobuluk, jewel tradition. This is talking about anyway, it doesn't matter that. So that is here. So that is really something very, very, for us, having very difficult to visualize all the spiritual masters, even though we have fortunate enough to meet many spiritual masters. But at the meditation session, when we struggle to visualize all, then this one is something very good one. That is what here going to know. So that is here the visualization. She say choju to lamenesum doje sumgi tembe toge hongle to say to the ramjam choju jen tangde tembe jamne kundu mo. Now, then what is the significance of these three, the beings, commitment beings, wisdom beings, and concentration beings? It is, really representing, representing the body and the mind, body and the mind, body and the mind. Quite often in the Vajrayana, what you call the teachings, there is this terminology, and with the terminology there are these meditations. Kuduk sungjuk, ku tok. Ku means the body, tok means the mind, sungjuk means the union of body and the mind, union of body and the mind, sungjuk. So the commitment being that we visualize, in this case, His Holiness Dalai Lama, that is the body. That is the body. And, then mind, when we talk about the mind, then particularly in the Vajrayana traditions, we need to understand, that with the mind, it comes the energy, long, long, energy, or the, wind, sometimes translated. So that these two are inseparable, the mind and the energy. My energy or the wind is the, what you call the vehicle that mind, to move towards, as a functioning, to see, to hear in the gross sense, in the mental sense, to think, to remember, and also in a very subtle. So in other words, the wisdom being represents the subtlest wind, and concentration being, represents subtlest mind. So these three beings are, representing, first of all, commitment being is the body, and the wisdom being is the subtlest mind, and concentration being is wisdom being is the subtlest wind, and concentration being is the subtlest mind. So in that way, so, for us, like right here and now, what we have here, body and the gross mind and the gross body, isn't it? Our gross mind, though conceptual minds, sensory consciousnesses, these are gross, but still they have, they are moved by, by the wind, energy, different types of energies. And when our mental states get into more subtler level, then again, in a more detail, in fact, these two, the wind or the energy and the subtlest mind, these two are the main ingredients, to what you call to move from one state to the next state. While unenlightened time, as well as in the enlightened states. At the enlightenment, the body, good, what you call a body vajra, kutoje, is the because of the wind, and this talk, that's enlightened mind, is the subtlest, the mind. So that is what here these three are representing. So, which is really, in other words, what happening in here, we have visualized, the complete, in certain extents, in front of us, we have visualized a complete, our spiritual master, in this case, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, with these three beings. And also visualize at his heart, the deity, who is inseparable from one's own, the meditational deity, Avalokitashvara, who is inseparable from the spiritual master, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And invoking all those, refuge objects, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and all the meditation of deity, and dissolving into His Holiness, and at his heart, Avalokiteshvara. That is also like a, reinforcing that our, what you call the sense of the His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, who is embodiment of Avalokiteshvara, and who is here encompassed all the three jewels and all the spiritual masters. So like, for example, when you do a study, then module by module, or what you call the unit by unit, you will get some kind of accreditation. And at the end of the entire unit is finished, module is entire, whatever, BA, MA, whatever, then you will get, university will give you. So that really makes that certain, I have done this. And that sort of things are happening in here, and which is very, very helpful for our mental states. And this is also helpful to, to cultivate concentration. So that is, this section. So then the next session, now we have invited or visualized, His Holiness Dalai Lama, who is inseparable from the Avalokiteshvara, and who is, in embodiment of all those spiritual masters. Now our next part is, the seven-limbed prayer. So that is, in front of at the presence of His Holiness Dalai Lama, our interaction with His Holiness Dalai Lama is this seven-limb prayer. And I will not go that detail this part, where many of you were there when I was reading, when we are reading the King of Prayers. We spent quite long time on that. And at the beginning of the King of Prayer, I'm sure you haven't forgotten. At the beginning of the King of Prayer, there's a long seven-limb prayer, sections. Some areas, some part like making prostration. There are several verses, like an offering. There are several verses, and I have gone through those quite detailed. And so the essence is the same. Maybe slightly different, usage of words, usage of words. Otherwise, the meaning is same. Meaning is the same. Or the purpose is same. So now here the prostration. First one is the prostration, and you can read the English. I think you will better, you are able to read better than me, so I will not read that. But I want to remind you once again, that reading that I done last week and also done week before in the a prayer for the beginning, middle, and at the end, end of practice. That verse that I read, verse which just uncover, explains in a very nicely and beautifully the qualities of our teachers, qualities of our teachers. And once again, I'll read that. May I be cared for by true spiritual friends, filled with knowledge and insight, senses stilled, minds controlled, loving, compassionate, and with courage, untiring in working for others. And that verse really captures very beautifully, nicely, the qualities of the teacher. But some of you are quite familiar with some of you follow just on Kappa tradition, do the as I mentioned last week, the Guru Puja on the 10th and 25th month, every month, sok offering, Guru Puja. At after the 7 prayer in that book, in that text, Guru Puja, after the 7 prayer, there is a section, paying homage to our teachers, going through different, receiving different teachings, receiving Sutrayana teachings, receiving Bodhisattvayana teachings, receiving Vajrayana teachings, and there is a nice verse in that section. It says, Sanje Tangme Jumbe Matuwe, Marung Duge Niku Dwala, Deshe Lamsa, Chishin Dumbai, Yamgu Tujijin, Soade. Sanje Tangme Jumbe Matulwe, meaning is, I, in this case, me, I, though many Buddhas had already come, but my mind, me, had not, able to, purify all these unhealthy mental states, and still very gross unhealthy mental states are there. Sanje Tangme Jumbe Matuwe. Countless Buddhas had come, but they haven't managed to, help me to remove or to purify my unhealthy mental state. Sanje Tangme Jumbe Matuwe. Marung Duge Niku Dwala. So like me, there are many others, who have a very, very difficult to train, to train and mental, to cultivate bodhicitta, love, compassion. Marung Duge Niku Dwala. At the time of very difficult, very niktu. It has a meaning of, time of degeneration of the teachings of the Dharma. Niktu Dwala. Marung Duge Niktu Dwala. Deshe Lamsan Chishin Dumbai. You, in this case, referring to our current, those great teachers, you have taught me all the teachings of the Buddha as taught by the Buddha. Geshe Lamsang. Deshe, the Buddha, gone to bliss, they were Shepa. Lamsang, the excellent path. Jishin, as it is, Dumbai, taught or shown, Deshe Lamsang, Jishin, Dumbai, Yangun Tujijala, Sawade. I pay homage to the refuge master who is embodiment of the compassion. So that kind of verse, some of you may remember, very, very beautiful verses in that section to relation to our spiritual teachers. So anyway, so the first verse here is prostration, and here, very beautifully, written by His Holiness, and you can read that. I will not, mainly talking about the qualities of the, body, first line. Second one is the qualities of the speech, and the third one is qualities of the mind. When he talked about qualities of the body, as soon as people, beings, see the body, physical body of the, one's own spiritual teacher, that really, liberates the, from the, affliction, tongzhou, and the speech and in the mental, Chenrezig, so immeasurable, in terms of the love and the compassion that you have is immeasurable. Cannot be measured. The love and compassion that you have. That is what here, Your vast, profound mind, filled with wisdom, compassion, is beyond all conception. So that is beautiful, beautiful to read and to associate. So that is making prostration. And the second verse is making offerings. Making offerings. And here, as you can see, the offerings that are made to spiritual master, something that we have, or something also mentally imagine. Actually arrange in front of the spiritual master, or mentally imagine. And longju, particularly here, is in the third line in Tibetan, in English, it is in the third line saying body and wealth and all virtues amassed throughout 3 times. This comes very often in the offering. Why? Why our virtues that we have created, past, present, and future. Why this offered to our spiritual master? There are 2 things which I heard, and I thought about, thought very good explanation. The first thing is, as a spiritual follower, we may not have that much attachment, hopefully, to the material things. So therefore, offering material things may not be that hard. But offering virtues might be quite hard. That is our hard work earned, as a spiritual follower. And even that is offered, then what is left? So that is, so anyway, it is, in other words, everything what we have, is offered, which is, as you know, the purpose of this practice, offering, is, reduce attachment, reduce grasping, craving, clinging. That is the purpose. Whether we offer, these beautiful things, including our virtues, or not, to the spiritual master, to the teachers, to the Buddhas, it won't make any difference to them, But it will make difference to us, because if we sincerely, genuinely, from our heart to offer, that will reduce the attachment, attachment. So therefore, this explanation saying why it is important to offer all the virtues that we have collected, because as a spiritual follower, it might be quite easy to offer the material things, but it might be quite difficult to offer even our hard work that we have collected virtues. But even that is also offered. So that is, I find this very nice. I offer to you upon visualize the ocean of clouds, like Samadhibatra's offerings. And this I have mentioned, what is meaning of Samadhibatra's offerings. I've mentioned quite detail in the, the King of Prayers when we look at that part, And, again here, some good to do the visualization, visualization. So the entire space is filled with the beautiful, things. Or sometimes one's own hard work, and virtues manifest into different kinds of offerings, and then offer to in this case, to His Holiness, to Dalai Lama, Spiritual Master. So that is the second. And the third is confessing, confessing. Maritube, Maki Yunumbe, Cheram Kanamato Digdongso, Lobar Changwe, Lobar Chamamamba Chijiba, Gyodom Tabu, Ming Ming Sha. So now here, as we all know, to confess our negativities, although practicing confessing negativity is not unique in Buddhist practice. It is not unique in the Vajrayana practice within Buddhism. At the way many of we know, almost all those major world spiritual traditions may use different terms, but have this, purification or confessing. And here, I just want to briefly to remind ourselves, those four powers is, important. Those four powers are the main component to do the purification. Within those four powers, here explain two very in Tibetan, two very specifically mentioned in here. Ge dom in the last line in Tibetan, geba, regret, which is in the last line in English, saying with a deep sense of regret that out of the four powers, that's the one. Then the second one is a pledge, never. That is, out of four, that's the last one, which we normally list four powers. The list, that the fourth one is the, a pledge, never to repeat them. So then what are the other two? The first one is power of base or power of foundation. That is deep sense of refuge, deep sense of compassion, because, most of our, and in fact, all our, non-virtues that we consciously or unconsciously that we have created in the past, more or less related to the other living beings, directly or indirectly. Therefore, having strong compassion as the base, the compassion is related to the others, isn't it? So therefore, very, very right base, the first power base, or refuge, compassion, bodhicitta, those are the very, very, out of the four, the first one. Then the second one, the tenjikyo, karsa, gyoba, regret, which is mentioned in here. Regret, deep, genuine sense of regret will come when we see the negativities, the impact of the negativities to ourselves and to the others. If we don't see the impacts or the consequences, of the negativities that we have created, then genuine regret won't come. Maybe just, the mimicking may occur. So here it says a deep sense of regret. Then, here the third one is the actual, what you call the remedy, or the, application, the antidote to purify the negativities. Maritube makin jedung dikdung jerang chinje nomba chichiba jedung mingmeng to sha. And here, in the last line, His Holiness mentioned without where's this one? It might be so. Our mind is being oppressed by the darkness without mistake. A pleasure never repeat them without reservation or compass. Okay. Must be somewhere there. So it is not here, but in Tibetan, mingme ngang to shak, mingme ngang to shak, gyodom takpe mingme mikpa meba. That is talking about, the emptiness, and the realization of emptiness. I will confess with in Tibetan in here in the last line, gyodom takpo, strong regret and strong, pledge not to commit again. And takpo mingme ngangdo, in the notion of emptiness, within the notion of emptiness, I'll confess, or within the sphere of emptiness, I'll confess. And that is really very much the third power of realization, power of antidote. If we, really manage to bring understanding of emptiness in the process of purification, that is the most powerful antidote. Of course, for example, to the antidote for anger is love. But love has a difficulty. Even if we have a strong love, it will struggle to tackle, what you call the attachment. love can tackle hatred, but cannot tackle attachment. But if we are able to bring understanding of emptiness in the process of purification, in the process of confessing negativity, all those unhealthy mental state can be challenged by that realization. So that is the third. So in this third, confessing negativity, all the four powers are there, and that is really important. Power of base, power of regret, power of remedy, and the power of commitment not to repeat. With these four powers, there are many statements in the sutra as well as in the Vajrayana teachings. When there are many statements saying, if we purify or confess our negativities with these four powers, there's no single negativities which won't be purified. So therefore, it is very useful, helpful to remember that. Then the next one is rejoicing. So here, rejoicing in this case, for example, in this case, really many of us have seen for years and decades, the teachings that have given by His Holiness, the projects that, started by His Holiness. There are many projects, there are many teachings, there are many books, there are many amazing activities that His Holiness Dalai Lama has started and continuing, isn't it? So remember those things and have a deep sense of, rejoice, appreciation, deep sense of appreciation, acknowledgement. That is here. And in Tibetan, Padela number Tarvatang. In here it says, rejoicing with this ordinary. My heart rejoice in Latin sub possible to perform myself. No. Okay. Yeah. In the second line, it says under the rejoicing, I rejoice in the enlightened deeds of sublime masters. Number Tarwa, Pandelame, number Tarwa. So, the enlightened deeds. Sometimes, when in the Tibetan tradition, when somebody writes a spiritual master's biography, of course, in the biography, they will have very long, beautiful titles, but very often, no matter how long the first one, the initial ones, the end will be Namtar, 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 and here it translated enlightened deeds, enlightened deeds. So, when historical Buddha was on this planet and giving all those amazing teachings, I think he had given those teachings sometimes under the tree, sometimes while he was, in front of a village person, and so on and so forth. So don't think about enlightened deeds happens in only in the Pure Land, areas. Enlightened deeds happening all the time and everywhere, isn't it? And these amazing activities that His Holiness has started and continuing, these are the enlightened deeds. And these really benefits to many people right here and now. And I am sure, many decades and in many eons. His project teachings will benefit. So here, that's what here, and included, not just one's own teacher, but also all those good deeds, created by the and other great masters, including ordinary people. The good deeds are not, done not only by those great teachers. Good deeds are also done by many, many ordinary people. And that's important. As many of you have heard me, one of my very oftenly, to share with you is, that man who's somewhere in Glasgow or Edinburgh, bin collector, and collects broken bicycles and repair and give it to the local children. I think that's the enlightened deeds. There's no expectation something to return some, just really the program when I watched, really, going in deep into my heart, saying that is the work. Just his work is just morning collecting the bins, but whenever he comes across broken bicycles, take to home and repair, then give it to the local children who don't have bicycles. That sort of things. There are many, many, many people. We don't see that much. Sadly, our those the newspapers or television don't talk about those good things happening in the community. They only talk about those unfortunate things, what's happening in our community. Of course, both are happening. So here, as it says in here, and in all the virtuous action, past, present, future, performed by myself and all others as well, and by ordinary, that is important one, ordinary, so that is rejoicing, very, very good to good practice, not to have that kind of what's called the sense of jealousy, envy, very, very painful mental states. It occurs, jealousy, envy arises in many different forms, in many different ways. Sometimes, very often we don't, immediately we don't acknowledge as a jealousy happen, arise. But in the deep down, yeah. So this is very helpful practice. Then the next one is the requesting. Okay, requesting. And here is the requesting teaching, requesting the teaching, which is very, for us, not only ourselves, requesting teaching is not only ourselves, coming generations and generation after that. And not only to ourselves on a particular topic, particular subject, or in a particular time, but thinking about all the time, all the subjects, all the topics. And not only myself, but all the other living beings, and here, His Holiness kindly put it, saying, that I request you to awaken every living being from the sleep of ordinary. And so here, talking about, the ignorance, to awaken mind, as we all know. Awaken in the sense, free from delusions, afflictions. When our mind is free from afflictions, delusions, then our minds become awakened mind, enlightened mind, isn't it? Our mental states, though we have many good, positive, what you call the mental states, but there are also, our mental state also have, many unhealthy mental states. So the requesting teaching is to remove those, mental states, unhealthy mental states, and then their seeds, their propensities, and through that make our mental states fully awakened mental states. And that's the main, requesting. Okay, we'll leave it here at the requesting today. Oh yeah. Thank you. So we will say the 21 Tantra prayers, but already 9:30. Om Geshe Ma Pama Droma La Cha Ce Lo Chanze Droma Nyuma Pa Mo Chene Geje Lo Dan Tam Jide Zongo Chuye She Ye Kesar Chewa Le Ne Jom Chanze Dongge Tawa Gun Do Kawa Jene Tsibe Shalam Kama Dongda Tsoba Nama Ye Rabdo Chewe Ra Baram Chanze Seng Chune Ye Peme Chane Nabara Jam Jimba Zundu Gado Shewa Soba Something Ju Chanze Dejin Sheve Zodo Hai Nabara Jawa Jam Malu Paro Jimba Tod Dewe Seji Shindu Dema Chanze Doda Rang Yi Dedan Chodan Namga Kam Jiden Dombo Shaki Nen Leba Meba Guba Nema Chanze Deje Mela Cham Long La Na Zo Wan Ju Che Ma Jombo Ren La Che Sa Na Wan Nu Ju Song Yin Du Ne De Ma Chanze Deje Cha Da Pe Paro Choko Rabdo Jom Ego Yin Ja Shab Ye Nen De Mabara Chokwa Shindo Maram Chanze Dure Jiwa Chen Bo Du Ge Bao Nabara Jom Chuge Shanle Chonye Den Ze Dao Tamje Malu Se Chanze Kunjo Somze Cha Ye Seme Toga Nabara Ye Malu Choge Kolo Yen Ranje Weje Sonama Che Chanze Rabdo Gawa Che Ojen Weje Chenwa Bam Sheba Rabshe Toda Ra Ye Dedan Jingden Wangdo Se Chanze Sashi Kyonwe So Nama Tamje Goba Nema Ni Chonye Yewa Yige Hong Pongpa Tamje Nabara Choma Chanze Dawe Dombo O Jamba Tamje Shindo Para Rebe Chene Weba Men Tabre Shindo Wero Tsema Chanze Kebe Tama Men Barwe Tengwe Une Nem Ejan Yungo Mukune Koroke Daye Pune Nabara Chom Chanze Sashi Ngola Chake Teki Nujing Shakye Dong Chonye Jenze Yige Hong Rinpoche Dombo Namne Gem Chanze Dema Gema Shema Yangen Deshin Juyu Nye Sowa Omda Yada Denbe Dikpa Chenpo Jombo Nye Chanze Kune Koro Ka Daye Lune Nabara Gem Ige Chube Ngani Kube Rikpa Hongle Doma Nye Chanze Dure Shamne Dabe Honge Nabe Sabe Nye Rera Menda Ratang Be Jigen Sumna Yowa Nye Chanze Lai Zoe Na Be Reta Dajen Chana Na Dara Niju Peje Ye Ge Duna Malu Bani Sam Chanze Hai Sonam Jebo, Hadam Miam Ji Dem, Gune Goja Gawa Ji Je, Zedam Melam Nyamba Sam, Chanze Nima Dawa Jebe, Jini Pola Urab Sam, Hara Niju Dudara, Shindo Tapurim Nesam, Chanze Tini Sumam Kwebe, Shive Tudayam Dadem, Dudara La Niju So, Jamba Ture Rabjonim, Zawe Ngaji Deba Deda, Chanze Wani Nishu Za. Gewa Di Jiwogun, Sanama Yeshe Sozo Shin, Sanama Yeshe Lechung, Tamba Guni Tobara Sho, Changju Semcho Rinpoche, Maje Panama Jejuroje, Jeba Nyamba Meba Yang, Kone Kongdu Pewara Sho. Kangri Rave, Korwe, De Pendant, Dewa, Malu, Joanne, Chenrezig, Tenzin, Jiaozui, Shabe, Side, Pato, Tenjuro, Je. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Geshe.
Thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you so much.
Very
Thank you.
kind.
Oh, hi, John.
Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Geshe.